17-year-old Malik Carter had just wrapped up a long day at Lincoln High School in the quiet suburb of Westbridge. Known for his academic excellence and standout performances on the school's debate team, Malik had a bright future ahead. He walked home every day, backpack slung over one shoulder, AirPods in, and a book tucked under his arm. It was his daily ritual, his moment of peace after hours in crowded hallways and stuffy classrooms. That Friday afternoon, the streets of Westbridge glowed under the setting sun. The Carter family's neighborhood was well-maintained, lined with tidy lawns and American flags fluttering on porches. Malik's house, a two-story colonial with blue shutters, stood near the corner of the block, a symbol of everything his parents had worked hard to build. As he rounded the corner and approached the front steps, Malik noticed a police cruiser parked along the curb. He didn't think much of it until the door flung open and a stocky white officer stepped out. "Hey!" the cop barked. "Where do you think you're going?" Malik removed one AirPod and looked around, confused. "Home," he replied calmly, pointing to the front door. The officer narrowed his eyes. "This your house?" Malik nodded. "Yeah, I live here." "Got any ID?" Malik paused. "No, sir. I just walked home from school." That was enough to set the officer off. He approached quickly, one hand on his belt. "Step away from the door." Malik complied, raising his hand slightly. "I don't want any trouble, sir." "You people always say that," the cop muttered. The word stung. Malik felt his throat tighten. He wasn't just being stopped. He was being profiled, accused, and humiliated in his own front yard. A few neighbors peeked through curtains. One even pulled out a phone. "Sir, my name is Malik Carter. My parents are Dr. Andre and Lisa Carter. My dad's a surgeon, and my mom is the school board president. This is our house," Malik explained, trying to stay composed. But the officer ignored him. "Hands where I can see them. Turn around." Before Malik could protest, the officer roughly turned him around and cuffed him. That's when the sound of a car screeching into the driveway broke the moment. Out stepped Mayor Cynthia Bennett, a petite black woman in a pantsuit and heels. Her face was a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Officer Bradley, what in God's name do you think you're doing?" she shouted. The officer hesitated. "He was trying to break into the house, ma'am." "That house belongs to Carters. And that young man is Malik Carter. He is an honor student, a community mentor, and my godson." Bradley went pale. The mayor stormed up the steps. "Uncuff him. Now." With trembling hands, Officer Bradley unclipped the handcuffs from Malik's wrists. The cold metal left faint red marks that Malik rubbed silently, trying to mask the deep sting of humiliation. "Malik, are you okay?" Mayor Bennett asked, gently placing her hand on his shoulder. Her voice, though soft with concern, carried an underlying fury. "I'm fine," Malik replied, though his voice cracked. "You shouldn't have to be fine after this," she said, turning sharply back to Bradley. "You violated this young man's rights, assaulted his dignity, and embarrassed him in front of his neighbors. For what? Because he's black and walking into a nice home." Bradley began to sputter, but she cut off. "Save it. You're suspended, effective immediately. I will be contacting the chief." A crowd had now formed. Phones recorded from. Officer Bradley's hands trembled slightly as he unlocked the cuffs around Malik's wrists. The metallic click echoed in the quiet suburban street like a gunshot. Malik rubbed his wrists, still stunned, his dignity bruised but his posture defiant. Mayor Cynthia Bennett stepped between Malik and the officer, her voice cold and measured. "Do you even know who you just detained? Or did you see black skin and assume criminal?" Bradley opened his mouth, but couldn't form a proper excuse. He looked suspicious, walking toward the house. Walking to his home, the mayor snapped, wearing a backpack, holding a book, in daylight. By now, more neighbors had gathered on their porches, murmuring, whispering, filming. A local news van that just happened to be nearby caught wind and had pulled up to the curb. This wasn't going to be quietly swept under the rug. Lisa Carter, Malik's mother, arrived minutes later. Her eyes filled with panic when she saw her son standing there with red wrists and disheveled clothes. She ran to him, enveloping him in a hug. "What happened to my baby?" she demanded, turning to the mayor. Cynthia gently touched Lisa's shoulder. Racial profiling. Plain and simple. Malik's voice cracked slightly. He thought I was breaking in. Lisa's face darkened with fury. He's lived here his whole life. A surge of emotion washed over Malik. Embarrassment, rage, frustration. But underneath it all, clarity. He knew this wasn't just about him. This was about every black kid who'd been stopped, questioned, harassed, or hurt for simply existing. The mayor took a deep breath and faced the cameras now gathering around. What happened here today is an example of the systemic rot that still exists in law enforcement, where skin color equates to threat. Malik Carter is a top student, with no criminal record, and with a future brighter than this officer could imagine. But he was treated like a suspect in front of his own home, for one reason only. He's black. Bradley's superior, Chief Reynolds, arrived just as the press conference was forming. He looked weary, having been through similar PR disasters before. But this was different. A mayor publicly dressing down one of his officers on camera wasn't something easily buried. "Officer Bradley," Reynolds said tightly, "you're suspended pending an internal investigation. Turn in your badge and firearm." Cameras flashed. Gasps rippled. Malik stood silently watching it all unfold, a strange mix of vindication and emptiness brewing in his chest. Over the next few days, the incident became national news. Hashtags trended. Hashtag walking while black. Hashtag justice for Malik. Hashtag not a suspect. Interviews poured in. Malik found himself sitting across from respected journalists, recounting the moment again and again. Each time it reopened the wound, but it also sharpened his resolve. What surprised everyone was Malik's composure. Not bitter, but honest. Not spiteful, but determined. He didn't want revenge. He wanted reform. "I'm not just telling my story," he said in one interview. "I'm telling the story of every kid who's been made to feel like they don't belong, even on their own front porch." The mayor formed a special task force, the Westbridge Equity and Accountability Committee, with Malik as its youngest member. He started meeting with students, police liaisons, and community leaders. But the impact rippled beyond Westbridge. Colleges reached out with scholarship offers. Civil rights organizations called. Even the governor invited Malik to speak at a youth leadership summit. Meanwhile, Officer Bradley's fate was sealed. With prior complaints uncovered during the investigation and the weight of public opinion crashing down, he was dismissed from the department permanently. His actions became a case study in implicit bias trainings across the country. 1 month later, the town of Westbridge gathered at City Hall for a special event. Mayor Bennett took the podium. "We often say we want change, but we fail to see it when it walks among us. Today, I want to honor a young man who, despite being wronged, chose not anger but advocacy." She turned to Malik and smiled. "Malik Carter, on behalf of Westbridge, we thank you for your courage, your composure, and your leadership." Thunderous applause filled the hall. Malik stepped up, slightly nervous, but stronger than he'd ever felt. He looked out at the crowd and said, "I shouldn't have to be brave just to be treated fairly. But since I had to be, know that I'm not just speaking for me. I'm speaking for every black teen who's ever been told they don't belong." The audience stood, clapping, cheering, some with tears in their eyes. And that evening, as the sun set again over Westbridge, Malik stood on his front porch, not afraid, not ashamed, but proud. Home had never felt more his than it did now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful true story narratives. Turn on the bell to never miss an upload.